Hello and welcome to this short tutorial. We're going to be making a health bar. We're going to be building on the game we made, or parts of the game we made earlier in the week and over the last couple of weeks. So I have my player character here walking along. I get shot. When the bullets hit me, the health bar diminishes, and then we can lose the game if we so desire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the components that we didn't have at the end of the last session. Okay, so we basically have, if I zoom all the way out, our level, so our non-player character, our player character, and we have a few scripts, etc., that we can move, and we worked on the non-player character scripts during the week, looking at distance. Okay, so let's build on that and do some health. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make a UI, a user interface that isn't part of our 2D world, that sits on top of it, and that regardless of what happens behind is sort of a non-interactive kind of communication to the player, showing what the status is of your health or your score, if there's a pause menu, etc. So I suppose it's interactive, but it's not interactive in terms of I can't fire a bullet and hit my health and make it go off screen. So it's completely separate to our game and sits on top. So Unity has built into it a system to do that. So let's do that. So let's go UI and add, what we want to add is an image. Actually, before I do that, let's just show you some of the things I've made. So I've made in Photoshop, I've made a background bar, and then I've made a green box to sit on top of it. That is the extent of the health bar, and I've saved it out as two separate images. So this is the dark background here, and then this is the health bar with an alpha channel around it. So they're both PNG files, and I haven't done anything with them here in Unity. They're just single sprites. The other thing I've done is on the bullet here, I've added the tag bullet. So I can add tag Friday, and then when I select an object, I can tag it Friday. The tag we want is bullet, so we want to be able to differentiate between collision. So if I collide with the bullet, I lose health, but if I collide with something else, I don't, like the ground, for example. Okay, so let's go and make our UI. So we're going to go UI, and we want an image. Now when we do that, three things have been created: a canvas, an image, and then this event system. The event system we'll look at another day. It's got a whole load of powerful controls, sort of like Uber controls over the UI. So it will determine whether things are interactive or not interactive, and yeah, we'll look at that another day. The canvas, in order to have any UI elements, you must have a canvas. Now you can have multiple canvases, so you could have like a pause menu, you could have an inventory, you could have a whole bunch of menus that turn themselves on and turn themselves off, so we can turn the canvas on and off here, but everything like this image here, if we take it outside of the canvas, I don't know if you noticed it was down here, it's disappeared. So it must be in the canvas in order to be seen as part of the UI. So everything we make now that we want to be part of our UI must be in this canvas. So I'm just going to rename this HUD for head-up display, and this I'm going to rename health BG, health background. And over here it says sprite none, so I'm going to drag my sprite in, my background, put it in there. And where is it gone? Where is my sprite? So let's select my HUD and hit the F key. Now this is our HUD. It's huge. It's not actually huge. When I press play, it will just fit the screen. But the way Unity works is it maps pixels out, 1 pixel per unit, using this kind of rect transform method. So this is just how it deals with UI. For now, we we're not going to worry about it too much. But suffice it to say that it's actually a very handy way of visualizing the head-up display. Now, we have a couple of things that we have to keep in mind. The first one is we haven't discussed the aspect ratio of the game, or the resolution of the game particularly. Now, the background image I've made, the background sprites, are 1080 high, which is, if we're making a HD game for a HD computer screen, HD is 1920 by 1080. So, as I've made this 1080 high, it will play on a HD screen, so these graphics are good enough and will not pixelate at HD. But if you can imagine, when we're making a UI, it has to be able to scale to fit multiple resolutions, particularly say on a mobile device. So lots of mobile phones have different screen resolutions, so we want the button that's on one to be in the same place and the same size in another. We don't want it to have a button to fill the screen on one phone and be tiny on another. So there are a lot of controls built into the UI system to allow the UI components to scale. So for what we're doing now, we're going to change this constant pixel size to scale with screen, and then it says reference resolution. So our reference resolution at the moment is this one's 1024 by 768. So this is popped outside. So we'll put in our 1024 and then 768, and we will have to change that going forward, I think is the phrase they use, if we change the resolution of our game. However, if I maximize on play, this little black square should remain in the corner. So now let's go deal with this so it doesn't look right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go set native size, because this should be long and skinny, not a square. So that's it there. Now I could start moving stuff around here, but I'm very simply just going to select this and I am going to position it so it's up in the top left corner. And you can see as I move this item here, you can see its X and Y position change. I can change the width and height of the box that contains the sprite, and then this is to do with anchoring. So at the moment it's anchored to the center. I should probably anchor it to the top left and right, and that has to do with what I said earlier about scaling. So when we position things, we're positioning them in a relative manner. So if I say this is 4 in, or 40 units in and 20 units down, 40 units in and 20 units down from where? From the center or from the corner? So we can position things and anchor them to parts of the screen. So this button will always stay in the top left hand corner and always be a particular percentage of the screen away from that corner. So that's what the anchors are for. But we'll come back and look at them in more detail another day. So inside this health bar, I'm going to make another image, and as they nest inside each other, they're the children of each other. So I'm going to make another image, and this one I'm going to rename health. And again, it's got no sprite, so I'm going to open my sprite and drag in my little green health bar. And again, it's a square, so we're going to hit set native size, and it has conveniently positioned itself inside my bar, but that's because I made them together in Photoshop, so they have the same scale and same resolution. So so that's it's convenient but deliberate. Okay, so now how do I make this bar go up and down? I could do it in code. It would be a bit messy, but I could do it in code. But Unity has built into it, which is very handy, a way of resizing images. So instead of saying image type simple, I'm going to say filled. And I can do all sorts of really cool things. I can have like sort of a circular health bar, or I could have, which is the radial one there, so this is kind of winding its way off. I could have a vertical one, so it diminished that way. And what we're going to make is a horizontal one, so that goes up and down. Now, so this is built-in functionality. It's great, makes life very easy. So the only thing that we have to access now, the only variable that we have to access, is already been made for us by Unity, and it's this one here. It's called filament. So we just need to change the filament, and think of it's got a value of 1 and a value of 0, so it's like a percentage. So I can express it as you know, add 5% or add 0.1 to this value to increase or decrease health. So as I get hit by things, it'll start to decrease, and then as I hit, you know, collide with pickups, I can increase this this number. So so now we need a script that'll help us. We need two scripts. We need on collision, we need to send a message, and then when we receive the message, or when we run the function that is the message, we need to make the score go down. So let's start with the score going down. So I'm going to make a new object. I'm going to call it, I'm going to create an empty. And this empty is not a child of anything else. It sits on its own, and I'm going to call it game controller. And there's always going to be items or code or audio in a game that isn't necessarily associated with a particular object, like a backing track, a music track. You know, I could put it on any object, but if I came back to the game in 6 months, I wouldn't remember where I'd put it. Like which object has the music on it. I could have, you know, hundreds of objects. So a game controller is normally an empty, and you pile stuff onto it that is not object specific. And I'm just going to make sure it's at 0, 0, so I can find it in the future. So there's my game controller, and I'm going to put a script on it. And the script I'm going to put on it is called, conveniently, game controller. Now I was going to look at the script before we get it to work. So it's quite a short script. We've got a function in it called apply damage, and we'll have a look at that. That's basically, even though it's a function, it's kind of a message. So I'm going to be sending, where's my player script? I'm going to be sending a message. So control.gameObject.sendMessage, apply damage. And then over here I'm going to run that message. So the message is a function, and that function is filament. This is minus equals 0.1. That's how you subtract something from itself. So I'm saying make this equal to itself minus 0.1. And then I'm saying there's an image, and that image has a variable called, well, actually no, we're saying there's an image, and we're calling that image content. So this is an image in the game, and that's going to be our health. So this image, we're calling it content. So take the image, find its filament, and make it the same as my filament. Okay, so that's what this script does. There's this extra line up here. Some of these, so this item here, filament and image, these are you know, words. These are functions specific to the UI, to the user interface, to kind of the GUI. If you don't put this in, some of these don't work. So if we're going to, when we're dealing with UI elements, you should always get into the habit of sticking that at the top. Okay, so let's go back to the game and see it in practice here. So what we've got is our game controller. It's got our script, it's got the filament, but it's got no, you know, what image is it going to change that value on? And this is the image here. It's going to change the value on, so it's going to change this value here. So we go back to our controller, and then we drag and drop the health in here. Now let's have a look at the player script and see what's going on in it. So we've already addressed this here. So we've gone function, and we've done on collision before, so I won't spend too long on this. So function on collision, enter 2D. So when I'm hit in 2D, if the thing that hits me, this thing here, call, has the tag bullet, then do something. And what should I do? I should find this thing, control. Now what is control? Control is a game object, and that's actually our game controller. So find the game controller, find the game object, and send it a message, and that message is apply damage. And then we run, when I receive the message, I don't have to tell it to run the message. Every time you receive a message that in the form of a function, it'll run the function. So it's quite a handy, quite a nice communication system they have set up in Unity. So let me go to my player, and it says control none. There's no, I haven't set the controller object because I've just made this game controller. So we dragged it over there, game controller. So now let's just kind of walk our way through this. We've made a UI. It's in the top left corner. It's a background image and a green image on top. That green image on top, we've given it an inbuilt function, which is the ability to slide, just to let you know, so I can tell it that I could have it slide this way if I wanted to go left or right. So that's a built-in function, and then we're just accessing that function. So we're saying when the bullet, or when the object tagged bullet hits our ship, this is on our player script, send the message to the game controller saying apply damage. And the apply damage script or function says -1 from this filament, and then it will slowly diminish. So let's test it, see if it works. There we go. Now we're getting multiple collisions, which is why it's gone down so quickly. So I could have, which I haven't done, I could take my bullet script here. So let's just double click on that and add one small addition. So we go back here and we've got function on collision 2D. So let's copy this. Control C, and we go to our bullet script. Control V. Now we're going to say player. Alright, so if I collide with something and the something has the tag player, no, I don't want to send, I'm already doing that, I want to do that. So that's not destroy yourself if you hit the floor, that's destroy yourself if you hit an object with the tag with a small p player. Actually we'll put in big P because that already exists. We go file, save, back into Unity, find our player and tag him player. So now we won't get a double hit, so or it'll take longer for our health to go down, or at least it should. So let's walk our way up here. Get hit, you can see I'm getting hit, but as the bullets hit me they disappear and my health has lasted a little longer. Okay, very good. I hope that makes sense, and we'll be doing this it is midnight, so in about 10 hours we'll be doing this in class. Okay, see you then.